Number 1. James Cameron pitched Aliens by writing Alien, then turning the S into a dollar sign.
I'm Burke. I'm Carter Burke. I work for the company.
In 1983, Cameron needed to convince Fox executives that a sequel to Ridley Scott's masterpiece could work. Rather than prepare a complex presentation, Cameron walked into the pitch meeting and wrote Alien on a whiteboard. Then he added an S to make it plural. Finally, he turned that S into a dollar sign to spell alien, dollars. The executives got the message immediately. More aliens equals more money. Sometimes the simplest pitches are the most effective. Number 2. Fox refused to hire Sigourney Weaver and asked Cameron to write a script without Ripley.
We sat down there on company orders to get this thing, which destroyed my crew.
Weaver was cautious about returning to the role and demanded $1 million for her performance. That was 30 times more than what she earned for the original Alien. Fox executives balked at the price and told Cameron to write a completely different story without the Ripley character. Cameron refused, stating that Fox had indicated Weaver was already signed on when he began writing. He threatened to quit as director if Weaver wasn't cast. Cameron used Arnold Schwarzenegger's agent to bluff that he was dropping Ripley from the sequel. The strategy worked, and Weaver signed her contract that same day. Number 3. A British tea cart nearly destroyed the entire production through cultural warfare.
Hey, Tom, let's see up.
It's a rescue mission. You'll love it.
Cameron was used to American film sets where work continued at breakneck pace, but at Pinewood Studios in England, a woman with a tea cart arrived every few hours for mandatory 15-minute breaks. Cameron considered this lazy, insolent, and arrogant, and became so frustrated he was allegedly ready to strangle this poor old lady who was just doing her job. The breaking point came when Cameron was setting up a complex scene on the Colony set with carefully choreographed actor movements. Just as he was about to film, every single crew member queued up to buy food from the tea lady. Cameron got in line himself, asked what the entire trolley would cost, paid the tea lady, then kicked over the trolley. After a long silence, he told the crew that departments would send one representative to buy snacks for everyone, or he'd move production elsewhere. Sometimes cultural differences become creative obstacles. Number 4. The first assistant director staged a crew mutiny that almost ended James Cameron's career.
Where they are.
Derek Cracknell felt he was more qualified than Cameron to direct the film. He would ignore Cameron's instructions and set up shots his own way, saying, "Oh, no, I know what you want," then do it completely wrong, forcing entire sets to be broken down. When Cameron finally fired Cracknell, he urged the entire British crew to walk off the set in protest during the middle of a shooting day. This full-blown mutiny could have permanently ended Cameron and producer Gail Ann Hurd's careers due to the money already spent. The truce was negotiated by producer Gail Ann Hurd during an hours-long all-hands meeting where grievances were aired and both sides agreed to an uneasy peace. Sometimes the biggest battles happen behind the camera. Number 5. James Remar was fired as Corporal Hicks for drug possession and a prop gun incident.
Paying us enough for this, man.
Not enough to have to wake up to your face, Dre.
Remar was originally cast as the heroic Marine Corporal Hicks, but was let go partway through filming. For years, he claimed he had urgent matters to attend to in the United States. Decades later, Remar admitted he got busted for possession of drugs during production. There was also an incident where a prop shotgun loaded with blanks accidentally damaged a wall on the neighboring Little Shop of Horrors set, though no live rounds were involved. The combination of these issues led to his replacement by Michael Biehn. Sometimes multiple problems compound into career-changing decisions. Number 6. Michael Biehn was flown in from Paris to replace James Remar with no preparation time.
What is it, Hicks?
Hudson, sir. He's Hicks.
After Remar's departure, Cameron immediately knew who he wanted as replacement. Having just worked with Michael Biehn on The Terminator, Cameron told the studio that Biehn was his choice. The actor was vacationing in Paris at the time, but was flown to London immediately to reshoot all of Remar's scenes. Biehn said he didn't find it easy coming to the production late when everybody else had been shooting for weeks. His first day was particularly challenging when Cameron came over after a few takes and said in front of the entire cast, "Michael, all that stuff that you just did there, all that stuff, don't do any of that again." Sometimes the best casting happens under pressure. Number 7. The Alien Queen was tested using puppeteers covered in garbage bags.
You're gonna be all right. You're gonna be all right. Please. Kill me.
James Cameron knew he needed to bring something completely new to the sequel beyond just more xenomorphs. His answer was the Alien Queen, a massive creature that would require groundbreaking practical effects. Since CGI wasn't an option in 1985, Cameron called upon special effects legend Stan Winston to make the Queen a reality. The first test model was called the garbage bag test, 2 puppeteers controlling a crude skeleton of the creature covered in black trash bags. Despite its appearance, the gigantic puppet was a success and proved the concept could work. Sometimes the most sophisticated effects start with the simplest materials. Number 8. James Horner arrived for 7 weeks of work, but sat around for 3 weeks while Cameron was still shooting.
First squad up, on line. Hicks, get yours in accord and watch the rear.
Horner's schedule only allowed him to work on the film for 7 weeks total. He arrived in London to perform his duties, only to find that they were still shooting, much less editing. He sat around for 3 weeks before being able to get started, and when he did, there were only 2 weeks before the scheduled scoring session, which couldn't be cancelled without forfeiting the entire fee. Under the brutal deadline, Horner borrowed some thematic ideas he had developed for Star Trek II, but the aliens' cues themselves are new compositions. He wrote his final piece of music overnight, and it was recorded on the last day of the scoring session. Horner later said, tensions with Cameron and Hurd were at fever pitch, and he vowed never to work with Cameron again. It took 11 years before they collaborated on Titanic. Number 9. The production used only 4 hypersleep chambers and mirrors to create the illusion of 12.
All right, sweethearts, what are you waiting for? Breakfast in bed?
The opening scene where the Marines wake up from hypersleep was considered important by Cameron, but producer Gail Ann Hurd wanted to cut the sequence entirely to save money. Cameron compromised by using only 4 actual hypersleep chambers and strategically placed mirrors to give the illusion there were 12 chambers total. The chambers were opened using wires and puppeteers hidden from camera view. This creative solution saved thousands of dollars while maintaining the visual impact Cameron wanted. Movie magic often comes down to clever angles and creative problem solving. Number 10. Carrie Henn was cast as Newt from over 900 child actors and kept blowing takes to slide down the vent.
So, that's why I'm the best.
Knock it off.
9-year-old Carrie Henn was chosen from hundreds of auditions to play the traumatized survivor Newt. When filming the scene with Newt in the duct, Henn kept deliberately blowing her scene so she could slide down the vent, which she later called a slide 3 stories tall. Cameron finally dissuaded her by saying that if she completed the shot, she could play on it as much as she wanted. She did, and he kept his promise. Despite her lack of experience, Henn became completely dedicated to the production. When she was too sick to do a scene one day, Cameron said she pitched such a fit that I wound up doing one little shot with her just so she'd feel better, so she could go home. After Aliens, Henn never did another movie and grew up to become a 4th grade teacher. Number 11. A full-scale doll replica of Carrie Henn was created for Sigourney Weaver to carry.
It's all right. Don't be afraid.
In several scenes, Ripley needed to carry Newt while also handling heavy weaponry and equipment. The combined weight of a child plus weapons proved too much for Weaver during action sequences. The production team created a full-body look-alike model of Henn for Weaver to carry instead. Henn had to do a complete body cast for the replica, and a stunt double was used for the legs while Henn provided the face and body parts. The detailed doll allowed Weaver to perform complex action scenes without endangering the child actor. Sometimes protecting young performers requires creating artificial substitutes. Number 12. Sigourney Weaver underwent extensive firearms training despite her anti-gun stance.
What's happening, A-Pong? Can't see anything in here.
Weaver carried a flamethrower, submachine gun, and grenade launcher throughout the film and needed to be proficient with each weapon. She undertook regular live fire sessions to handle the heavy pulse rifle and flamethrower rigs safely. The only hard part really was the guns were extremely heavy, Weaver said. You always were alternating the guns, so you have to be sure you didn't pull the wrong trigger and ignite the stuntman by mistake. Even the prop guns were considered very dangerous, and Weaver developed a healthy respect for their power. As an advocate for gun control, she initially felt uncomfortable with all the shooting but brought that reluctance to her performance, which Cameron felt was perfect for Ripley's character. Number 13. The pulse rifles were Frankenstein together from 3 different real weapons. The futuristic pulse rifles carried by the Colonial Marines were created by combining parts from multiple real firearms. The production team used a Thompson submachine gun as the base, then attached the forend of a Franchi Space 12 shotgun and a Remington 12-gauge Model 870P receiver with barrel. The smart guns used by Vasquez and Drake were based on a German MG42 machine gun. The crew chose weapons that would be the most reliable when firing blanks while also looking futuristic enough for the film's setting. The hybrid approach created iconic weapons that looked both familiar and advanced. Number 14. The APC vehicle crashed into cameras and nearly killed James Cameron twice.
10 seconds, people. Look sharp.
The production bought a Hunslet ATT-77 aircraft towing tractor from British Airways to serve as the armored personnel carrier. The massive vehicle originally weighed 64,000 kilograms but was reduced to 32,000 kilograms, and set floors still had to be reinforced to support the weight. In one scene, the brakes failed and the APC crashed into a camera that was fortunately being operated remotely. In another scene, the driver forgot the vehicle was in reverse instead of drive and backed into a wall, nearly injuring both the cinematographer and Cameron. The dangerous vehicle proved that even props could become weapons on Cameron's set. Number 15. Lance Henriksen cut Bill Paxton's finger during the improvised knife trick scene while hungover.
Hey, not me, man.
Yeah, you.
Hey, come on, quit messing around.
Don't move.
Come on.
The famous scene where Bishop demonstrates his knife skills using Hudson's hand wasn't in the original script. Cameron had the idea on set and discussed it with everyone except Bill Paxton to get a real surprised reaction. The scene was shot on the morning they flew back to Los Angeles after the cast had thrown a goodbye party the night before. The likely hungover Henriksen ended up cutting Paxton's pinky finger on the second take. I gave Bill a blood blister, Henriksen recalled. He moved his pinky into the line of fire and I pinched it. He was acting like I stabbed him with an ice pick. Throughout filming, Paxton had continuously apologized to Carrie Henn every time Hudson had to swear in front of her, though Henn later admitted she didn't mind because she didn't know what any of the words meant. Sometimes the best improvisations happen under the worst conditions. Number 16. The actors had to hold their breath while filming in toxic chemical fumes.
As you work.
According to Jeanette Goldstein, Bill Paxton, and Michael Biehn had to hold their breath while filming a scene where toxic chemicals were burned, sending off hazardous fumes. The production was so focused on achieving realistic effects that actor safety sometimes took a back seat to cinematic vision. The cast members had to time their breathing carefully to avoid inhaling dangerous substances while still delivering convincing performances. These were the kinds of practical effects challenges that wouldn't exist in today's heavily regulated film industry. Sometimes realism comes at a literal cost to performer health. Number 17. The decommissioned power station filming location was reused as the Axis chemical factory in Batman.
I'll be down in maintenance, okay?
Cameron and his producers chose the Acton Lane power station in London, which had been decommissioned in 1983, 2 years before Aliens production began. The location provided the perfect industrial atmosphere for the alien nest scenes. The same location would later be used again, minus the xenomorph secreted goo, as the Axis chemical factory in Tim Burton's Batman in 1989. The atmospheric power station proved so effective for creating menacing industrial environments that multiple filmmakers recognized its cinematic potential. Sometimes the best sets are ones that already exist in real life. Number 18. Fox wanted to cut 12 more minutes from the film, but Cameron refused to make it nonsensical.
Drake, check your camera.
Ray Lovejoy was responsible for editing the final 137-minute cut of Aliens. Fox wanted the film to be under 2 hours, so it could be shown more times per day in theaters, increasing revenue potential. Fox production president Scott Rudin flew to England to ask Cameron and Hurd if they could cut another 12 minutes from the runtime. Cameron was concerned that further cuts would make the film nonsensical and argued against additional editing. Rudin eventually relented, allowing Cameron to maintain his artistic vision. Sometimes commercial pressures have to yield to storytelling integrity. Number 19. Bill Paxton's famous "Game Over, Man" line came from his character backstory and was delivered by an actor who thought he was too over the top.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Paxton believed he wasn't good at improvisation and discussed character ideas with Cameron before filming. Hudson's signature line, "Game over, man, game over," originated from Paxton developing a backstory where his character had been extensively trained on military simulators. When Paxton first auditioned, he got a fake plasma rifle and became so enthusiastic that he thought his performance was too over the top. Luckily, Cameron loved the energy Paxton displayed and offered him the part, which Paxton accepted while turning down the role of Zed in Police Academy 2. The line perfectly captured Hudson's panic when faced with real combat versus simulated training. Sometimes the most memorable dialogue comes from understanding who a character really is beneath the surface. Number 20. Sigourney Weaver's iconic "Get away from her, you bitch" line was filmed in one take with an accidental vocal inflection.
Get away from her, you bitch!
The climactic confrontation between Ripley and the alien queen features one of cinema's most memorable one-liners. Weaver originally intended to say the line with the last word in a lower register, but during filming she accidentally went up in pitch on bitch. Cameron, who normally does 2 or 3 takes, liked it so much that he didn't ask for another one. Due to the tight schedule remaining and the complexity of the practical effects, this single take became the emotional peak of the entire film. The line has become so popular with fans that they almost invariably quote it exactly like Ripley, with the tonal emphasis on the last word. Sometimes the most iconic moments happen when accidents create perfection. Bonus fact, the film was completed so close to release that proper test screenings were nearly impossible. Aliens wasn't finished until very close to its July 18, 1986 release date. Post-production was extremely tight, though at least one early test screening did take place and influenced pacing trims like the Colony Family prologue. The incredibly compressed schedule meant that extensive test and pre-screenings were unable to take place before the film hit theaters. Fox executives had limited opportunities to gauge audience reaction before paying customers saw the finished product. Despite this nerve-wracking situation, critical and audience reaction was overwhelmingly positive from opening day. The film debuted at number 1 at the US box office with a weekend gross of $10,052,042 and stayed there for 4 consecutive weeks. Sometimes the biggest gambles produce the greatest rewards. Here's what makes Alien's story so beautifully chaotic. It was a sequel that nobody wanted to make. A 26-year-old director fighting seasoned professionals. A composer with 3 weeks to create a masterpiece. A crew revolt over tea breaks. A star who demanded 30 times her previous salary. But that's exactly why it became legendary. The beautiful accident of creative warfare disguised as collaborative filmmaking. One unknown director proving that vision matters more than experience. A British crew learning that intensity and tea time don't mix. A sequel that dared to be different instead of just bigger. Aliens proves that sometimes the most commercial art comes from the most uncommercialistic battles. Sometimes the best sequels don't copy their predecessors. They declare war on them and win through superior firepower and tactical creativity. The film's lasting power comes not from its technical achievements, but from its creative chaos. The revolts, the compromises, the overnight compositions that happen when passionate people refuse to accept impossible as an answer. What's your favorite moment of creative chaos from Aliens production? And do you think James Cameron's intensity was necessary to create such a masterpiece? Game over, man. Let me know in the comments below.